So Inventory Performance Index, IPI. So first off, what is it? Well, the easiest way to think about it is if you know anything at all about Americans, you will know that they are obsessed with their credit score. You pretty much can't do anything in the States of any meaning, at least, without getting your credit score checked first. It is not as bad in Australia, but it certainly, is pretty bad here in Australia too, but not as bad as the USA. Anyway, your IPI, Inventory Performance Index score, it's kind of like your credit score, but for Amazon FBA. That's really, in effect, what it is, and that's a good way to kind of wrap your head around it as well. So Amazon is trying to get you as a seller with stock in their warehouses to manage that stock effectively. And what it's ultimately trying to get you as close as possible towards is something called on-demand inventory. And what that means is you've only got sufficient inventory in Amazon's warehouses for that day of trading. Okay, that's what that means, on-demand warehousing. However, of course, it's not possible to have 1 day's worth of stock in the stores. Well, it is. And I don't know if I've talked about how to do that already. Anyway, that's another conversation. It's not really a good strategy for most people to do that. Instead, what most people aim to do is to hold, a quarter's worth of strategy, like 3 months worth of stock inventory in Amazon's warehouses. Okay. Amazon, little side note here, Amazon and their own IPI, they tend to rotate their own stock 9 times a year. So what's that? Just over 1.25 times within the period of time. So lost my train of thought then. So 9 times a year they rotate their stock. But that doesn't mean that's what you should aim for. What it means, though, is that you should monitor your stock. And so they have, as Amazon has learnt to do, incentivized good behavior as far as they see it, as far as maintaining the correct stock levels within FBA. So what the hell does that mean? Well, they have got a performance index score. And that goes from 0 up to 750 from memory. But the important figures for us to know as sellers is the figures between 0 and 399. And that magic number, 399, is the danger, you're in the shit, you're being penalized zone for your inventory. So let's come back to that. First up, what does Amazon actually want you to do? Well, Amazon does not want you to hold excess inventory. So it monitors how much what's called sales velocity, which is how many sales you're making in any month or week's period of time, the velocity of sales in that particular period. It monitors that and then extrapolates out to the next month to say, well, this month you're probably going to make, I don't know, like 100 sales, for instance. Okay, so next month, it's a normal month, it's not prime or anything like that, so you'll probably make another 100 sales. Okay, so you should have roughly X number of units in your stock to fulfill those orders. If you've got more than that, then that says it's excess inventory and you begin to get penalized for that. The more outside of what they believe to be the appropriate number that you have, the more you get penalized, which starts to come into that 0 to 399 kind of danger area. So if you look at that, They also look at how old your inventory is as well. Now, Amazon is a bit of a bitch for this because most people don't realize that Amazon does not rotate your stock for you unless you tell them to. They do not automatically rotate your stock for you, okay? Just so you're aware of that. The way that you get Amazon to rotate stock is by changing the SKU number that you put in, and then Amazon will sell your first SKU, and then they'll go to your new stock with your new SKU number, okay? Anyway, that's for a different conversation. So, they monitor how old your inventory is because they don't want you to have out-of-date stock being sold, so they monitor that. They also monitor what's called dead inventory, and this is inventory that is not associated with an active listing on Amazon, so that is monitored as well. And the final thing they monitor is if you're running out of stock. So you can kind of see that those four things, they're really the base level KPIs for managing your inventory in any logistics kind of situation. They're your four base KPIs that you ought to be monitoring. Okay, so what Amazon's saying is monitor your KPIs. That's what they're saying. All right, so with that being said, if you start to get it wrong, like you've got too much stock in, which is really the big no-no as far as Amazon's concerned, too much stock in and it's been sitting there for too long, then you will begin to get a low score, okay? And as I said, it's between 0 and 399. Now, if you dip into that, what happens is you pay extra fees. You will pay extra for mismanaging your stock, okay? And you are also given constraints about how much stock you can put into FBA going forward. So, for instance, when you join Amazon as a new seller, you're often given an amount of stock that you can have as a new seller. Typically, it's 299 units, or a certain storage area, cubic storage area. Okay. Well, that's because your score, your IPI score, is low because you haven't got any history, okay? So it's low. So you have to build up your history and then you get to increase your stock levels. So that's why they do that. I think that's kind of all I've got to say about that, Brian. Hope I answered that for you. I felt like I went on a bit of a ramble, but I think I covered all the salient points anyway. The most important thing is this, and again, I think I harp on about this heaps, but I believe fervently that it is much, much better to run out of stock than it is to have too much stock ordered. I really believe that is true. We had my Advanced Inner Circle on Thursday night, where I talked through relaunching products and how to do that, and I personally believe it is much, much smarter, all things being equal. I mean, the best situation is to order perfectly. Yeah, that's clearly the best situation. But a perfect world really doesn't exist. So in an imperfect world, I believe it's better to under-order your stock, because the penalties for over-ordering, not only from Amazon, but also in terms of the drain on your cash flow and things like that, I think far outweigh the penalties for under-ordering and running out of stock, given how relatively easy it is to relaunch onto Amazon. Hope that makes sense. Yes, I don't know how I managed to incorporate cars into all of these evenings. Something going on there for sure. Hey, thanks so much for watching that video, and I hope that you got some massive value from it. Before you go, do you live in Australia? If you do, this is for you. Would you like to learn how to sell things on Amazon here in Australia? Would you like to know what sells really, really well and what sells for the maximum amount of profit? Would you like to know where you can source those products from, whether that be in China or here in Australia, and how to source them so you pay bottom dollar and get maximum value for what you're doing. If you do, please subscribe to my channel and like this video, and you'll learn that and much more. It's the exact same information that people like Jeff from New South Wales I've used to make $45,000 a month on Amazon, that Sue, who's from the sunny coast, has used to purchase herself a brand spankly BMW every single year as a result of her e-commerce business, and the lovely Kate from Bowral in New South Wales has used to make $32,000 a year on a month, not a year, a month on Amazon, and indeed Anthony, who makes $15,000 a month on Amazon, selling, as he puts it, odds and sods. If you'd like to learn the exact same information that they use to maximize their profits for their Amazon businesses, subscribe to this video, like my channel, post below if you want me to teach you something. Okay, I'm out of here. Speak to you soon. Bye. Subscribe. Do it now.